Virtual field trips have become an important tool now that many geoscience programs have shifted to online teaching. At Dal, we had begun to explore drones, photogrammetry, and 3D models of field sites, but this effort was accelerated this past summer to prepare for the fall term. We wanted to give our students some sort of field experience, but we also wanted to teach to our strengths by using local field sites. In the end, we developed over 18 virtual field trips for 8 of our fall term courses. In today's presentation, we'll explore some of these virtual field trips, the raw data that went into making them, and depending on time, a brief overview of photogrammetry and how to create a 3D model, your own 3D model, with a smartphone and free software. Some of the field sites that we'll briefly tour today include deformed Maguma rocks at the Ovens near Lunenburg, Proterozoic intrusive rocks at Georgeville Beach near Antigonish, glacial till at Conrads Head near Cole Harbour, and deformed Carboniferous evaporites near Cheverie on the Bay of Fundy shore. These trips were a real collaborative effort, and I would like to acknowledge several people who made significant contributions to make this whole project possible. Rosa Tuta, a fourth-year student at Dal, made the videos of instructors in the field this past summer. Jen Strang and Max Lapierre provided a lot of technical support and advice. And certainly the course instructors who enthusiastically bought into this virtual field trip concept, including John Goss for his Quaternary Sedimentary Environments class, Yana Fedorchuk for her Igneous Petrology class, Grant Walk and his courses on stratigraphy and petroleum geoscience, Owen Sherwood and his sedimentology class, Amy Mewey and her environmental field methods course, and Sue Gass's course on corals. Now, let's go take a look at the rocks at the Ovens. First, let's review the regional geology a little bit. Click on the Ovens tab over here. This part of southern Nova Scotia is referred to as the Maguma terrain, consists of the Cambrian to Ordovician Maguma supergroup. That's in orange and green. The lowermost Goldenville group is sandstone dominated, and the overlying Halifax group in green here is slate dominated. These were turbidites deposited in the Cambrian to Ordovician. They were intruded by granitoids, here shown in pinks, reds, and purples, in the Devonian. And this is the South Mountain batholith here, and with satellite Pluton, similar age, down towards Shelburne, southern Nova Scotia. Those granitoids also, though, cut the folds that affected the Maguma group, or Maguma supergroup, sorry. The folds you can see by the alternating striped linear patterns of the green and orange. The Halifax, again, is the younger one, so these would be synclines, preserving the younger, and then anticlines through here, exposing or uplifting, exposing the lower Goldenville group. What I'm going to do here is click on our next set of layers here. This is updated mapping by Chris White at the Nova Scotia Geologic Survey. I was actually a field assistant of his back in the, well, shortly after these rocks were deposited, let's say, and over here. And he continued right around the end, the tip of Nova Scotia, and really updated our understanding of this area. So especially the stratigraphy within the Goldenville group and within the Halifax group. And so we have a much better perspective on the metallogeny as well, because our stratigraphic understanding is better. So if we come in, what I want to show you before I go to the next one is the nature of these folds. These are cross sections done by Faribault and Fletcher, published in 1911 here, and these really reflect the geometry of these folds. Chevron in some places, chevron shape, as well as box fold and alternating or opposing or inclined axial planes. So the next bit of data I wanted to show you is back to Faribault. He was a geologist who mapped in this area in the late 1800s, early 1900s, as well as looked at these gold deposits in detail. And just for another cross section, here's his map, and I know it's black and white, you won't be able to see too much, but you can see these northeast trending lines. Those are the traces of axial planes. As well, the different color, he just mapped 2 units, Goldenville and Halifax. And so this is the Halifax in light gray and Goldenville in dark gray here. And then his cross-section similarly shows that. The dark gray is Goldenville, and then the light gray is the Halifax formation. And you can see the nature of these folds here. So there's straight limbs and sharp hinges for the most part. And in places, some have these rounded shapes, but this one is actually the one we're going to go visit, Ovens Anticline here. I should have shown where the axial plane is, or where this cross section was made was through here. So that rounded part of that fold is here, but it becomes a sharp chevron fold, tighter as well up here, where we're going to go visit the ovens themselves. So let's bring up the next one. So here, as we zoom in, what I've done here is showing just the satellite image map, but with some of the data, Chris White's data from his map. And if we zoom in a little bit, what we can see is we can see this drone-derived 3D model. So this is, and maybe I'll bring that big. So here what we can see is I flew a drone around this part of the beach section, took a bunch of pictures, and let a fancy software package stitch it together and make a 3D model, which pulled it together. And here's that Ovens Anticline right here. Now, so we're going to take a look at this fold in a more detailed model that I have uploaded on a thing called Sketchfab. Let it crisp up here. And so what we can see here at the actual Ovens Anticline is the prominent weathering layers are silty to fine sand, and then the recessive and darker colored are slates. So they're mudstone and to fine siltstones. Click on it, we can get in a little bit more. There's a saddle reef. This is a quartz vein that's about, 10 centimeters thick, 12 centimeters thick at its thickest point, right at the hinge. And then it thins right out on the limbs. And these veins are parallel to bedding, and it fills in this space where it thickens up in the hinge. It's It's called a saddle because it looks like a saddle, where the thickest part is right where you would sit, and then it thins out where your legs would dangle off. And there are a number of other vein features here as well, and we'll just take a look at another one. So here, if we come along the beach a little ways, so I'll just rotate around. If we come down the beach a little ways, the fold is right at low tide line, actually. High tide covers it. And so the fold is right in through here, if we look. So there you can see it. And it's actually where most of the veins are concentrated now. So with this one, I flew the drone separate from that regional survey, or the beach, the full beach survey. I flew the drone at only about 10 meters elevation. And so here what we can see, again, there's the cliff walls, really well exposed hinge zone. And the lighter gray, I'll just move it over. The lighter gray is silty sand, the dark gray is slate, and then the white are quartz veins. And if we zoom in a bit more, we can actually see there's a fourth thing here. There's sparkly silver things, gray. This is actually arsenopyrite for the most part. This is a vein of arsenopyrite folded and buckled in the hinge zone itself. There's numerous quartz veins, all parallel to the bedding. And if we come up here, this is a really cute section of it, where the vein is buckled and folded along with the bedding, right in the hinge zone itself. So what is the relationship between these gold-bearing quartz veins and the folds? So these veins predominantly are bedding parallel, and you've seen them wrap right around the fold, parallel to the beds. One way we can think of it is in terms of flexural slip folding, this model. And I can show you that a little bit better than I can describe it. If you take a soft-covered book, like a telephone book or a thick textbook, and you bend that book, as you do, what must happen, the pages slide past each other. They slide past each other because the curvature here is greater than the curvature down here. And as they slide past each other, that's places, if it's a multi-layered sequence with rocks, that's a place where there could be fluid flow. Whether that fluid is driving some of that flexural slip, or there's just dilation allowing the fluid to flow in there. The other part of this is that then the fluid can concentrate and really fill in large dilations right in the hinge zone. Now, the next thing I'm going to show you is what happens on this side of the folds. So we've seen these veins, the bedding parallel veins, but are there any veins on this side of the fold sequence? So let's take a look at that. Okay, so if we come down, if I just zoom out, and we're going to walk down the beach a little bit further, down this way, and I'll rotate around and then zoom back in over here. And I'll enlarge this a little bit. And what we can see actually, are these conjugate sets of fractures here forming these nice X's. There's actually a number of different fracture sets, but the veins themselves are in these, they're steeply dipping veins, but in opposite directions, forming these X's. So these ones, we wonder what's the relationship of those. Are they related to the folds, or are they cutting across, right? We can see some more down in here as well. So here we're looking straight down in plan view, and they're also forming X's, cutting across the bedding at high angles. These ones are actually related to the folding. And here, Rick Horn did his master's thesis on this area, wrote a paper with Nick Culshaw, and he showed that these conjugate veins are cut by the bedding parallel veins, in turn also cut by the cross-cutting veins as well. So, but the timing relationship suggests they're at the same time as the folding. So there are a number of other features at the ovens which are really cool, really interesting, but in the sake of time, let's move on to a couple other field sites before we wrap up. So let's head to Georgeville Beach now. It's near Antigonish. Up here, Georgeville Group here in light green was intruded by the Greendale Complex, which is mostly mafic intrusive rocks. Both of these are late Precambrian in age, Neoproterozoic. But what I want to show you is and here, this is one of my favorite teaching outcrops, and I think students get a lot out of this outcrop. So here, there's a mafic dike intruding granitic rocks. And there's beautiful intrusive relationships with, let's just make this bigger. So with chill margin, you can barely make it out here, but a chill margin in the mafic rocks and baked zone in the along the margin of the granitic rocks. There's also a number of veins and dikes. There's calcite and also quartz veins. But even better than all of this, there's actually a number of faults here that are really quite straightforward to work out, but it takes some time. And so there's a sharp contact here. There's a fault here that cuts the contact, the diabase and granite contact. But that fault itself is faulted running through here, and it offsets this fault. So this strand is the same as this strand. And once you work that offset out, you can actually see a few other places where there's this vein is actually this vein up here, offset again by this fault through here. Isn't that cool? Hopefully, that doesn't give away answers at your next field school. Maybe you'll forget by then. So let's head to Conrads Head, which is just east of Halifax. Here, I'm showing a geological map. It's roughly 5 kilometers across here. This is a superficial geological map, and the dark green are outlining drumlins. The light green is till veneer. So if we zoom in to the actual Conrads Head down here, we have a 3D model of the till outcrops. And they're really well exposed here. The cliff itself is about 20 meters, 18 meters tall here. And the lower section, the lighter gray, is the Heartland till, clay-rich. And then the middle till, the red color, is the Lawrencetown till, less clay-rich, very red in color, characteristically red. And then Stony till at the top, which is a bit of a mixed zone and locally sourced for the most part. And I just wanted to show you another visualization tool we used in these virtual field trips were these gigapans, these high-resolution panoramas, where it's a mount on a tripod that automates the taking of a panorama, multiple pictures, and then software that stitches it together and hosts this. And so this panorama stores quite a bit of information in tiles. And as we zoom in, we get the full resolution of the high resolution camera that I used. So here we can actually see a striated boulder. Okay, let's go to our last stop, which is near Cheverie on the Bay of Fundy shore. There's Cape Split and Wolfville down in here for scale and reference. Let's see, this button. Here, the white rocks are gypsum of the Windsor group, and they're interbedded with limestone, and in some places it looks like algal mats as well, if I scroll around here. And one interesting thing I noticed actually after I developed the 3D model were these really well exposed folds, and possibly two sets of folds on the tidal flat itself. And these folds, we can trace them using some of these, the limestone interbeds here. And so these folds aren't related to the folds that we saw at the ovens, because this deformation is affecting Carboniferous rocks, which are younger than the Devonian granites, which cut the folds at the ovens. So this deformation is something unrelated to the folds at the oven. Probably this deformation is related to reactivation along the Cobequid-Chattahoochee fault, which separates the Magooma zone from the Avalon zone. Runs just to the north of us, which is to the right of our view. Well, I hope you enjoyed this field trip, and best of luck in the rest of term and through winter.